Among Akuffo Addo's uncountable relatives in government is Nana Asante Bediatu, who is a cousin of President Akuffo Addo from Chebi and serves as his executive secretary. But ladies and gentlemen, Bediatu is not alone. He is joined in government by his father, his biological father, called Akuffo Asante. You can see his picture on the screen. That is Nana Asante Bediatu's father, who has been appointed by President Akuffo Addo as chairman of the governing council of Gimpa. He is also joined by his biological mother, Mrs. Vida Asante. You can see her picture on the screen, who is the head of the presidential household. So his mother is also a presidential staffer, described as head of the presidential household. His father is the chairman of the Gimpa Council. But that is not all. His brother, his blood brother, Kwesi Kuntu Asante, has also been appointed as a board member of Ghana Hostels. And you can see him in the photograph with Nana Asante Bediatu on the screen. That is his blood brother, board member, Ghana Hostels. But not just that, ladies and gentlemen. In addition to this, his blood sister, called Loretta Asante, with a marital name Ochre, so she's now called Loretta Ochre, has also been appointed as one of the 3 Deputy Director General at Senate. So she also, you can see that they look very much alike. She's also, you know, a Deputy Director General at Senate. So one nuclear family, ladies and gentlemen. The father, Mr. Akuffo Asante, has been appointed as the chairman of the Gimpa Council. His mother, Vida Asante, head of presidential household, whatever that means. His blood brother, Kwesi Kuntu Asante, member of the Ghana Hostels Board. His blood sister, Loretta Asante, now Loretta Ochre, Deputy Director General Senate, and himself, Asante Bediatu, Executive Secretary to the President. Ladies and gentlemen, other relatives of President Akuffo Addo who currently occupy positions in his government include the famous ones. Ken Ofori-Atta. Can we see his picture? Ken Ofori-Atta is on the screen. The Minister of Finance, Samuel Atachia, the Minister of Works and Housing, and Kwesi Amoakwata, the Minister for Roads and Highways, all of whom are his cousins. So Atachia is a cousin, Kwesi Amoakwata is a cousin, and the almighty Ken Ofori-Atta, cousin of President Akuffo Addo, given various juicy positions. Ken Ofori-Atta is Finance Minister. Another cousin of his, Kwesi Amoakwata, Minister for Roads and Highways. Another cousin of his, Samuel Atachia, Minister for Works and Housing. Now, friends from the media, in an unprecedented move, President Akuffo Addo has made his own daughter, Jankroma Akuffo Addo, a member of the Creative Arts Council. And you can see Jankroma Akuffo Addo on the screen, daughter of President Akuffo Addo, has also been given an appointment as member of the Creative Arts Council. So it's not only an affair of cousins, but it is also an affair of daughters. And as we move on, you are going to see more. Ladies and gentlemen, a major striking feature of Akuffo Addo's nepotistic governance style is the ever-present quartet, made up of 2 appointees and 2 non-appointees. That quartet is what is known in government circles as the ruling quartet. They are made up of 4 people, the most powerful people in Ghana today. Made up of 2 appointees, Ken Ofori-Atta, Minister of Finance, Duke Ofori-Atta, his younger brother, who is also a presidential staffer in the Office of the Chief of Staff, And then President Akuffo Addo's direct younger brother, called Edward Akuffo Addo, aka Bomti. And their nephew, Gabi Asare-Otchere-Darkon, the de facto Prime Minister of Ghana, known in government circles as God, in quotes. You can see them on the screen. This is the ever-present quartet who are controlling the affairs of this country and being presided by President Akuffo Addo. Now, it must be noted that even though Bomti and Gabi do not hold formal positions in government, the two are the president's closest advisors. Gabi, in particular, is considered as the most powerful man in the Akuffo Addo's administration, second only to the president. And Bomti, on the other hand, as revealed by our investigations, is the president's main man, underline that, main man in Ghana's energy sector with numerous interests. And we are going to explain that. Now, furthermore, the wife of Ghana's de facto Prime Minister, Gabi Asare-Otchere-Darkon, President Akuffo Addo's nephew, and for that matter, the in-law of the president, Nana Adwoa Hackman, is not left out of the sharing of the spoils, as she has been appointed to the board of the GMPC, a key institution which pivots Ghana's petroleum sector. So here you are seeing the influence of Gabi. His own wife has been appointed as a member of the GMPC board. Also, the brother of Gabi's wife, called Mr. Eko Hackman, and for that matter, President Akuffo Addo's son-in-law, has been appointed as the board chairman of BOST. So Gabi's wife is on the GMPC board, and the brother of his wife is now the board chairman of BOST, all key institutions in Ghana's energy and petroleum sector. Now, to add to the litany of familial relations of the president in government and the unholy firm grip that the Akuffo Addo family has on the energy sector of Ghana, another cousin of the president, Rodalen Bafojima, has been made a member of the board of Ghana Oil Company, GOIL. So this is another cousin of President Akuffo Addo, Mrs. Rodalen Bafojima, who has been appointed by President Akuffo Addo as a member of the GOIL board. But ladies and gentlemen, in addition, the husband of Rodalen Bafojima, who is the cousin of President Akuffo Addo, the husband, called Mr. Alex Bafojima, has also been rewarded for his relations with the president by being appointed to be the chair of the board of the Gaming Commission. So that's Rodalen Bafojima's husband. He has also been appointed as board chairman of Gaming Commission. And I hope the cameras here will capture that for the benefit of those watching. Also, another cousin of President Akuffo Addo, a very famous one, Nana Fredua Oforiata, has been appointed by the president as the board chairman of National Theatre. So, a known communicator of the New Patriotic Party, cousin of President Akuffo Addo. He has also gotten his fair share, chairman of the National Theatre Board. Now, the names we have mentioned so far are relatives of the president from his mother's side, the maternal relatives of the president. But ladies and gentlemen, in furtherance of his legendary practice of nepotism and clanism, Nana has not left out his paternal side from his distribution of state positions. Dr. Edward Kwapon, the Chief Executive Officer of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, and the current Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Ms. Gloria Akuffo, are all paternal relatives of President Akuffo Addo from his father's hometown, Akuffo. So these are paternal relatives. Edward Kwapon, Chief Executive of Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Ms. Gloria Akuffo, Attorney General and Minister of Justice. But quite apart from the above, enumerated, President Akuffo Addo has also a long catalogue of relatives and friends deeply embedded at the presidency. So here we are zooming in to the presidency, on the presidency, sorry. This was revealed after our careful perusal of the list of presidential staffers presented to Parliament early last year by the President. Among them, you remember the 998 presidential staffers. Now, on that list is President Akuffo Addo's nephew, called Michael Oforiatta. Hard guy to find, so we couldn't get his picture. But he's there, nephew of President Akuffo Addo, who operates under the title Director of ECOWAS. It is very puzzling to us, ladies and gentlemen, what this role entails, Director of ECOWAS, given the fact that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration has able hands to handle the affairs of the sub-regional body on behalf of the government of Ghana. Still on the unprecedented list of presidential staffers, which has sent many tongues wagging, is another nephew of the president, William Oforiatta, who bears the title of an office assistant. He's a presidential staffer with the title office assistant. While yet another relative of the president, Alice Oforiatta, has also been drafted in as a protocol officer at the presidency. So, Presidential Alice Oforiatta, you can see a picture, presidential staffer in charge of protocol. And then you have William Oforiatta, office assistant. And then you have Michael Oforiatta, director of ECOWAS. When the Ministry of Foreign Affairs already have a plethora of, workers, professionals who can handle such affairs. Now, in a move to further entrench nepotism, contrary to his euphonious rhetoric whilst in opposition, a relative of the First Lady, Mrs. Rebecca Akuffo Addo, who goes by the name Gabriela Erefua-Rindolph, has also found space on the gargantuan list of presidential staffers as Deputy Director of Hospitality. Furthermore, two people, husband and wife again, Akosua Newman and her husband, Victor Newman, have been appointed to the presidency. Victor Newman is a paternal relative of President Akuffo Addo and his long-standing associate. He is today his senior presidential advisor. And Victor Newman's wife, Akosua Newman, like I've already stated, is the executive assistant at the presidency, whatever that means, executive assistant at the presidency. Still on the record-breaking list of staffers is Shirley Lai, who has been appointed as an assistant office administrator at the office of the president. Her husband, Mr. Gadi Lai, is a known long-standing friend of President Akuffo Addo. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the press, in what comes across to us as a romantic twist to this tale of family and friends, President Akuffo Addo has made Madame Virginia Hesse an ex-lover of the president and baby mama of the president. We are saying it as it is. A woman who is known to have a daughter with the president, Ghana's ambassador to the Czech Republic. So this is Madame Virginia Hesse. She has a daughter with President Akuffo Addo, and she has also received her fair share, appointed as ambassador of Ghana to the Czech Republic. So daughters are getting their shares, cousins are getting their shares, nephews are getting their shares, husbands and wives are getting their shares, nuclear families are getting their shares, and ex-lovers and baby mamas are also getting their shares. Clearly, President Akuffo Addo has shown that he is not a man of his word and cannot be trusted. Several, friends from the Inky fraternity, several high-ranking officials in this government have taken a cue from the president in this very unenviable practice. One of such is the president's cousin and Ghana's finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, who has also assembled a cast of close friends, relatives, and business partners into many public financial institutions in order to have an unparalleled influence over the sector. For example, now we are on Ken Ofori-Atta. A sister-in-law of Ken Ofori-Atta, Ghana's finance minister, has been made the deputy managing director of SIC Financial Services. And the name of that sister-in-law is Eno Ofori-Atta. You can see Eno Ofori-Atta on the screen. That's sister-in-law of Ken Ofori-Atta, as appointed as deputy managing director of SIC Financial Services. While another family relative of Ken Ofori-Atta, Alice Ofori-Atta, has also been appointed as head of the Tema Development Corporation. And Alice Ofori-Atta, ladies and gentlemen, is on the screen currently. Alice Ofori-Atta. To further strengthen his hold over Ghana's financial sector, Daniel Ogba-Amitete, a known protege of the finance minister, has been appointed to the position of Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. It must be added that Ogba-Amitete is a former vice president of Data Bank, co-owned by Ken Ofori-Atta. So Ken Ofori-Atta is the co-owner of Data Bank. His brother won an election, became the president of Ghana. He appointed him, direct cousin, as finance minister. And Ken Ofori-Atta also chose to assemble a whole cast of friends, relatives, business associates. And so Alice Ofori-Atta, Eno Ofori-Atta are his relatives in government, and his friends who he used to work at Data Bank with, like Daniel Ogba-Amitete, has also been appointed as the head of SEC. Another business associate of Ken Ofori-Atta and a former staff of Data Bank, Dela Awo Asime, a company secretary to Data Bank, has also been awarded as a member of the SEC board. So the chairman of SEC is a known protege of Ken Ofori-Atta. A member of the board, Dela Awo Asime, is also the company secretary of Data Bank. There is no gainsaying that these two acolytes of the finance minister have been strategically placed to make it very difficult, if not impossible, to hold the finance minister to account for any aberrations of the law regarding SEC. Therefore, it is not surprising to the financial sector in Ghana and to us in the NDC that Data Bank is almost always deemed worthy transaction advisors to the finance minister in most of our recent issuance of sovereign bonds. To all intents and purposes, the operations of Data Bank, which is co-owned by the finance minister Ken Ofori-Atta, now extends into the domain of the finance ministry which he leads. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the despicable practice of nepotism by the Akuffo Addo government has assumed perhaps a bigger center stage at the finance ministry. Our investigations have revealed that Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta, who heads the ministry, has supplanted, listen to me very carefully, supplanted a number of highly qualified and seasoned technocrats, and in their stead, placed middle-level cronies from Data Bank to occupy top roles responsible for implementing government economic and financial policies. One of such persons is his nephew, Ken Ofori-Atta's nephew, Michael Asari-Bediakon, who has been planted as special assistant to the minister. This is Michael, and he virtually runs the Ministry of Finance as we speak. Other erstwhile data bank staff who now sit comfortably at the finance ministry and other agencies under it include Ernest Akori. These are all former workers of data bank who have been drafted into the Ministry of Finance currently. So apart from Ken Ofori-Atta's nephew, Michael Asare-Bediakon, his special assistant, you have erstwhile data bank staff such as Ernest Akori, a former non-executive director at Data Bank, who is now on the board of Ghana Revenue Authority. Another is Samson Akliko. And you can see their pictures on the screen. Samson Akliko, who was once a vice president at Data Bank in charge of research. He is now the head of the Financial Sector Division of the Finance Ministry. Others include Felicia Jemfi Ashley, a former human resource manager at Data Bank, who is now a member of the Entity Tender Committee of the Finance Ministry. That is not all. You have Intiwa Daku Kwache, also a former staff of Data Bank, who has also been fixed as an employee at the Finance Ministry. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, this brazen nepotism has obviously incurred the wrath of many senior staff of the Finance Ministry who are incensed by the continuous recruitment of several data bank staff at the ministry, and who are sabotaging qualified professionals at the ministry who have been there for ages, sabotaging their work, all because they are either friends or business associates or former employees of Data Bank, which is co-owned by Ghana's Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. Even Charles Addo, one of the 3 deputy ministers at the Finance Ministry, has arguably more than a mere working relationship in government with the Finance Minister. His business partnership with Ken Ofori-Atta dates back to the purchase of shares in Enterprise Group, previously held by Salam, a South African investment firm, by Black Star Holdings Limited, a company he, Honorable Addo, founded. So these 2 men, Ken Ofori-Atta, Addo, who are shareholders in this company, have an opportunity now to continue drinking from the same pot at the Finance Ministry. Indeed, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, who recently and infamously described innocent investors in men's gold as greedy, continues to exhibit arguably the obscenest avarice ever witnessed in the political annals of Ghana. Apart from the above examples, ladies and gentlemen, the Finance Minister has an additional sea of strategically placed allies in key state financial institutions with whom he shares close ties of friendship and business interest. Among them include Kelly Gajipu, a long-standing acolyte and co-founder of Data Bank and head of the Enterprise Group, and Madam Comfort Okran. So Kelly Gajipu, you can see him on the screen, co-founder of Data Bank. He is now on the Bank of Ghana board. He's also the chairperson of ECG. They are the ones who created this whole PDS mess that we are grappling with. And then you have Madam Comfort Okran. Can we see a picture, please? Both of whom now sit comfortably on the Bank of Ghana board. The board, which has engineered the collapse of over 420 financial institutions and rendered thousands of breadwinners jobless. Another associate of the Finance Minister, this is Ken Ofori-Atta alone, by name Lynn Alote Gajepu, sister-in-law of Kelly Gajepu, has also been appointed to the Bank of Ghana board. Also on the prestigious board of the Bank of Ghana is Dr. Kwame Owusu Nyantechi, a brother-in-law of the president. What that means is that Dr. Kwame Owusu Nyantakyi is married to the sister of the First Lady, Auntie Becky, Angel Auntie Becky. And you just have all these family relatives on one board, Bank of Ghana. So Kelly Gajepo is there, Madam Comfort Okran is there, Len Alote Gajepo is there, then Dr. Kwame Owusu Nyantakyi is also there on one board. So when they are collapsing financial institutions, or when financial institutions are being collapsed, you should know the people who are perpetrating, such heinous crimes against the people of this country. Others among the data bank cohorts are Yofi Grant, current CEO of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, who between 2009 and 2012 was an executive director in charge of business development and private equity division at Data Bank. Yet another former Data Bank employee is Michael Adote Addo, who is now a deputy director general at SNET. So they are everywhere. They are SNET, they are Ghana Export Promotional Council, they are Bank of Ghana, Ministry of Finance, everywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, it is very instructive to note that in sharing the spoils of power to family, friends, and loved ones, the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, neither opposed nor recused himself. Dr. Bawumia's father-in-law, father of the second lady, Samira Bawumia, called Alhaji Ahmed Ramadan, has been made Ghana's envoy to the United Arab Emirates. We also must add that Samira Bawumia's brother, Alhaji Ramadan's son, that is Abu Ramadan, has also been appointed as a deputy director at NADMO. But not just that, you also have another brother of Samira Bawumia. So Rebecca Akuffo Addo is not the only guilty, first lady. The second lady is also part, because her own father, and for that matter, father-in-law of Bawumia, is there, has been appointed as an ambassador to the United Arab Emirates. Then his brother, we all know him, Abu Jinapo, deputy director at NADMO. Then another brother of his, Mumuni Abdullahi Bawumia, if we can see his picture, he's quite unknown. Mumuni Abdullahi Bawumia, a brother of Vice President Bawumia, has been appointed as technical advisor to the Interior Minister, Honorable Ambrose Derry. So Bawumia's brother has also gotten his fair share. Learning from President Akuffo Addo and Bawumia, various ministers of state in this government have also diligently followed these shameful footsteps of their bosses by also dispensing generosity to their families and friends. Beyond President Akuffo Addo, Dr. Bawumia, Ken Oforiatta, specifically, the man who actually leads the pack is the senior minister of Ghana, friend and defender of Aisha Wine of China, Mr. Yao Osafomafu, aka Kroll Associates. Even though Mr. Osafomafu discouraged MPP foot soldiers not too long ago, and the youth of Ghana from seeking jobs in the public sector because it is choked, his two sons, not one, but his two sons, are comfortably serving in the public sector. So our senior minister came out telling MPP foot soldiers, telling the youth of this country that don't look to the public sector for jobs because the public sector is choked. And behind our backs, little did we know that he was busy creating non-existent portfolios for his two sons. And so, ladies and gentlemen, these privileged sons are, number one, Kwejo Jamfi Osafomafo, his picture is on the screen, who now serves as a deputy director general and acting head of cyber security at the NCA. Kwadwo Jemfi Osafomanfo. You can see him on the screen, son of Osafomanfo. The second one is Kofi Bosompem Osafomanfo, who is now the Deputy Director General of SNET. So the senior minister has 2 sons appointed, and these positions, these portfolios, were non-existent under the ex-Wal regime. So Osafomanfo, senior minister, created these portfolios and placed his 2 sons there. Let's stay a little while longer at the National Communications Authority, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Minister of Communications, Asla Owusu Akuffo, has conveniently fixed 2 of her allies, namely Olivia Cote and Prince Sifa, as Deputy Directors Generals in charge of managerial operations and operations respectively. So you have 2 allies of Honorable Asla Owusu Akuffo, the woman who says those criticizing President Akuffo Addo are witches. And their names are Olivia Cote and Prince Sifa. And listen to their portfolios. One is in charge of managerial operations, and another is in charge of operations. One is in charge of managerial operations, and another is in charge of operations. It still remains a mystery as to what these 2 nebulous roles actually entail within the scheme of things of the NCA. By the same token, the Director General of the NCA, Joe Anoche, the ICT wizard of the MPP, has not stopped short of drafting several of his apparatchiks into various positions at the authority. These include, but not limited to, Kwame Jan. Kwame Jan. Can we see his picture? And these are not apparatchiks of Asla Owusu, the minister. To be fair to her, these are all apparatchiks of Joe Anoche, the Director General of NCA. Kwame Jan, Nathan Musa, Collinson Ni Clote Oko, Charles Ronald Sani, Nelly Deborah, Josephine Adufowa, Harry Mackinson, and a host of others. All these apparatchiks of Joe Anoche, Director General of NCA, have been given various positions at the National Communications Authority. Friends from the media, over and above these despicable nepotistic appointments at the party level, the wife of the national chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Freddie Blake, is now Ghana's ambassador to Germany, while the son of the Speaker of Parliament, Michael Kwe Jr., is Ghana's representative to India. But ladies and gentlemen of the press, not just that. The daughter of Ghana's Speaker of Parliament, Professor, and should I say Reverend Michael Kwe, called Maria Edith Okwe, has recently been made the head of corporate affairs for the National Petroleum Authority. So the president, you've seen his relatives, friends, and so on. You've seen the vice president's relatives in government. Then you go to the national chairman, the same thing. His wife, Jenna Blay, ambassador to Germany. And then the Speaker of Parliament. We would have thought that the Reverend Minister would have abstained from this shameful practice. But no, his son, Mike, we know, but the daughter, called Maria Edith Okwe, has also been appointed as the head of corporate affairs for the MPA. Also, Akosua Menu, daughter-in-law of Peter McMenu, who is the board chairman of Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority and former chairman of the MPP, has also been appointed as deputy CEO of the National Youth Authority. So even former chairmen are also drafting in their daughters. Last but not least, at the Fisheries Ministry, sits the ever-present Honorable Elizabeth Afolekwe, under whose watch about 22 million Ghana cedis worth of premise fuel was defalcated in a massive scandal in 2017. Indeed, in 2017 alone, she superintended over about 200 cases of premise fuel diversion. And at the heart of these thinking scandals was her brother, Joseph Bobi, whom she appointed as administrator of the National Premise Secretariat. So Joseph Bobi is on the screen. And can you blame these appointees? The president himself is giving juicy positions to his daughters, cousins, nephews, baby mamas and all that. The vice president is doing the same thing. The speaker of parliament is doing the same thing. So the ministers are only emulating the bad examples of the president in this race to the bottom. So Elizabeth Afolekwe, Minister of Fisheries, has also appointed his blood brother, Joseph Bobi, as the administrator of National Premise Secretariat. And ladies and gentlemen, don't forget that in the intro we indicated the potential of nepotism, the potential that nepotism has in compromising transparency and the fight against corruption. So we are not surprised that till date nobody has been held liable for the diversion of over 200 tankers of premise fuel, which happened in 2017, because the man who presides over that is a brother of the supervising minister, Honorable Elizabeth Afolekwe. And this Joseph Bobi functions alongside his nephew, Elikem Sewodo, who is a Southern Voter Coordinator of Premise Secretariat. So Afolekwe has also given 2 juicy appointments under her ministry to her blood brothers. Now, this presentation is only part 1 of the unprecedented levels of nepotism in the Akuffo Addo government. Part 2 will focus more on the nepotistic business dealings of these appointees. Because you need to know that not only are they occupying juicy appointments, but they have seized control over virtually all critical sectors of the nation. And we need to expose that as well. And so we will be calling you for part 2. But we need to just give you some teasers. And so we will just give you 2 scenarios, 2 cases, to demonstrate the nepotistic business dealings of these nepotistic appointees in the Akuffo Addo government. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, a natural consequence of this unprecedented level of nepotism is total state capture. Beyond planting his relatives and close friends in top positions, President Akuffo Addo has opened up the public purse for total scramble by these family and friends. He has ensured their total dominance of several sectors of the Ghanaian economy, to the detriment of other Ghanaians who are better qualified and in a much better position to execute government jobs. The object of this is to enrich himself and his close relatives, contrary to his claim that he did not come to power to enrich himself. In some instances, contracts and jobs won legitimately by genuine contractors and service providers have been taken away from them and given to relatives of the president. For the sake of brevity, we will provide just about 2 examples to demonstrate this point. Number 1, how President Akuffo Addo took oil supply contracts from Bost and gave it to a company associated with his brother, Edward Akuffo Addo, aka Bomti. When President Akuffo Addo came to office in January 2017, GOIL and other state entities in the petroleum sector were supplied finished products by Bost, a state-owned entity. So Bost, as a state-owned entity, was supplying finished petroleum products to GOIL, to TOR, and other state institutions. As soon as President Akuffo Addo took office, ladies and gentlemen, a company called Stratcon Energy was hurriedly formed in 2017 and has taken over the supply of oil products to GOIL, BOST, TOR, and VRA. So Stratcon is a company which was formed after President Akuffo Addo won power in 2017. And yet they've been able to muzzle out a state player, BOST, such that today they are the current suppliers of finished petroleum products to GOIL, TOR, and so on. And if you are wondering how a company formed only in 2017 can secure the lucrative contract, this lucrative contract, to supply oil to all these state entities, look no further. Stratcon Energy is owned by the husband of Adeline Akuffo Addo, daughter of President Akuffo Addo's brother, Edward Akuffo Addo, aka Bomti. So you see, President Akuffo Addo's brother, the one who is the leader of the ruling quartet, Bomti, has a daughter called Adeline Akuffo Addo. And the daughter's husband is the one who incorporated Stratcon Energy after Akuffo Addo won power in 2017. And today he's the main supplier of finished petroleum products to GOIL, BOST, TOR, VRA, and so on. He succeeded in pushing out a state entity, BOST. Number two, how President Akuffo Addo gave public funds to his brother-in-law to invest in a hotel project. In December 2018, President Akuffo Addo allowed the state-owned Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, which was established by former President Mahama, to partly finance a private underline hotel project being undertaken by his brother-in-law, Dr. Kwame Nyantakyi Owusu. And this Dr. Kwame Nyantakyi Owusu, who is building his private hotel at Airport City and was given millions of cedis by President Akuffo Addo from the Ghana Infrastructure and Investment Fund, is married to the president's wife's sister. So Auntie Becky's sister is the wife of this Dr. Kwame Nyantakyi, and he has been given millions of Ghana's money for his private hotel project. And these are all facts. And we challenge the NPP or these personalities who we have mentioned to come up with any superior facts to controvert these assertions or allegations that we are making. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure by now you are all aware of how thousands and millions of Ghana cedis, our oil money, GMPC funds, have been gifted to the wife of President Akuffo Addo, Auntie Becky, Rebecca Akuffo Addo. Can you imagine what the New Patriotic Party would have said if President Mahama had directed the GMPC to give monies from our oil proceeds as a country to his wife's foundation, the Ludina Foundation? What would have the NPP and some journalists said in this country if this had happened under President Mahama? And yet we are all mute. The NPP and some of the most avowed critics of the Mahama administration are seeing and hearing no evil when all these things are going on. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, we have already indicated the classic and numerous examples of nepotism cited. But these are but a few of the plethora of family, friends, loved ones, and cronies who have characterized the deceptive and corrupt Akuffo Addo government. It is clear that President Akuffo Addo has made nepotism a deliberate policy in his administration. And we can safely say, without any equivocation, that the Akuffo Addo government is the most nepotistic government in the world. These family and friends appointments have also exposed the hollowness and deceptive nature of the president's infamous rhetoric in Kumasi in 2016, when he vowed not to operate a family and friends government. Simply put, President Akuffo Addo has failed to translate his words into action. His style of governance continues to expose his weakness with each passing day. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, we have brought these to your attention for Ghanaians to see the extent of abuse that President Akuffo Addo has subjected the public purse to. Apart from having an extraordinarily bloated government with 124 ministers and about 1,000 presidential staffers, he appears to have made family connections a key prerequisite for appointments into his government. This has predictably spawned several conflict of interest situations, clear acts of corruption, victimization of existing businesses, arm twisting and extortion, and so on. Indeed, the business community is on its knees and at the mercy of these family and friends cliques.